also down the road are including the police and fire station, which is in 1C. But what it means is on publicly owned land where the law says that we have to build 30% of housing on that site has to be affordable. We are now going to have the opportunity to build more housing overall, more affordable housing. So I'm really proud of that work. I'm really grateful for all the contributions of the ANCs as we were mapping all of this out. There's one more vote. And all of the map changes that we made are accompanied by updated policy language in the text that directs any future zoning changes towards increasing affordable housing, protecting tenants, and enhancing open space. So in 5 years, we're going to be starting this all over again. And so one of the things that I was really focused on was making sure that the process in 5 years is much more inclusive. It's going to be more concise, easier for residents to understand and really envision themselves as part of it, and be even more laser focused on housing justice and race equity. But we really needed to get this one done so that we could keep moving forward. So thanks again. Speaking of the Reeves Center, I know that ANC 1B is hosting a series of meetings to discuss the Reeves Center redevelopment. Thank you for that. As many of you know, I was involved early in the process. I should say this time around, I was involved in the process several times ago as well. But one of the things that I wanted to do, so the ANC and the council have very distinct roles here. And you'll be hearing from the developers directly and taking community input and providing that feedback as the selection is made. My role was before this and after this. So I worked with the deputy mayors for planning and economic development and with some of your commissioners to gather community input into the actual request for proposals, the actual RFP, so that those bidding on it would understand what the community is looking for. And I really do think that the two proposals before us at this point offer so much of what we asked for. So I'm proud of that work. Thank you, commissioners who participated in that effort. Thank you for all the work you're about to do reviewing these proposals. By the time it comes to the council for us, it'll be a disposition approval. So really what happens now in community is really critical. And thank you for all the work that you're doing. It should be done by now. The outlets at Reeves Center should be, I didn't get a chance to stop by before the meeting, but they should have been repaired and reopened to the public. So I know that Oscar's out there first thing tomorrow morning, tabling for vaccines. So if they're not open, I will know immediately. But thanks to the commissioners who let me know that they had been taken out. I will get the backstory, but I haven't gotten it yet. So I'll keep you posted on that. I introduced a piece of legislation in March that I think will be of interest to this commission. It's called the Harmonious Living Act. And I know that you hear from constituents just as much as I do about sound and music levels. In order to address sound levels in residential neighborhoods while also protecting and expanding the local music culture in the district, I introduced this bill. It's called the Harmonious Living Amendment Act of 2021. And the goal of it is to ensure that artists and performers who make our communities so special can coexist with those who reside in the vibrant neighborhoods that we have. The bill sets soundproofing standards for new residential construction or on mixed use corridors and in entertainment districts, with higher requirements for buildings that are within 300 feet of a performance venue to address crowds and low frequencies. Currently, the district does not require any soundproofing standards for building exteriors, which is crazy. For existing buildings, the bill requires a new disclosure on lease or purchase agreements for residential properties in an entertainment or activity area that informs a new renter or buyer of nearby activity and long-established cultural institutions. New incentive programs are created for soundproofing retrofits, and both in existing venues and in smaller residential units. The bill also celebrates outdoor performance by initiating a study to take a closer look at places where street performance frequently occurs. So the U Street, 14th and U Plaza might be a good candidate for that. And it also studies how to remove barriers from holding performances in public spaces while also reviewing buildings in proximity that may be insufficiently soundproofed. It really tries to take a holistic look at what we're dealing with in our neighborhoods here in the ward. And I can tell you throughout Ward 1, not just in 1B, we have these clashes between the traditional uses of our public spaces and newer residential properties. So I really want to mitigate that in a way that balances it, takes into consideration the things that our buildings need to be doing to keep our residents, give them the ability to live and work in peace, but also for everybody outside to enjoy our cultural history and our arts and music. So we're asking Chairman Mendelson to hold a hearing on this bill. It's called the Harmonious Living Amendment Act. And I hope he does, because I think it'll make a big difference in these issues that we're dealing with. I'm also happy to report that I have officially introduced the Alice Washington Way Designation Act of 2021. The bill will symbolically designate the 2700 block of Sherman Ave as Alice Washington Way. And I want to thank and see your leadership and partnership throughout the process. Again, we need Chairman Mendelson to hold a hearing on this so that it can gather community input and move forward. Budget season is approaching. It got delayed this year because of the federal allocation that we're receiving. Usually by now I'd be giving you an update on at least what the mayor's proposed budget is. And since the district will be receiving federal funds, the mayor asked us to postpone our consideration of the budget so she could incorporate those into what she sends to us. It will be coming to us at the end of this month, and then we will hold our hearings. The full schedule is now posted on the council website. The human services hearings are all taking place in June. So if you wish to testify, you can sign up at my website, brianneknadeau.com/committee. I know we have Chairman Turner asked me to speak a little bit about the census, because we've got a bunch of census nerds on this commission, and myself included. The federal government is behind on the census because of the pandemic, which frankly is really going to screw up everything in terms of our election cycles next year. So we're sorting that out now because we take the new census numbers and we redraw the maps. We redraw the ward boundaries, and we also redraw the ANC boundaries. And within those, we redraw the single member districts. And we cannot do that until we know how many people live within them. So the block level numbers that we need to get started are not here. They're not coming till September. Once they're here, the council ad hoc committee will hold hearings on the ward boundaries. And from there, I will form a committee to talk about the rest of the boundaries within Ward 1. If you're interested in being part of those conversations, you can email me or David Meny on my team. Oscar, if you could throw our email addresses into the chat, that'd be great. I want to give you a little teaser though. I believe I may have mentioned this in the past. Ward 1 is the only ward that has only 4 ANCs. So what that means is ANC 1B and 1A are huge. 2 largest ANCs in the District of Columbia. I believe, and this discussion was started 10 years ago, I believe we probably need a 5th ANC representing Lower Georgia Avenue, which would come from ANC 1A and 1B. So I would like everybody to ponder that, sit with it, see how you feel about it. But I do think it is something we need to seriously consider as we approach this, because as talented and diligent as all of you are, it's quite a large body. And it's a slightly unwieldy number in terms of a leadership model to have a committee this large doing the work that you're doing, the number of liquor licenses you have, et cetera, all in 1 ANC. And the same thing goes with 1A. And so I'm going to put that out there, and when we get to committee time, we'll talk about it seriously. Okay, so I'm happy to answer any questions if time permits. Certainly that is up to you, Mr. Chairman. I am so glad to be with you tonight. Thank you for including me on your agenda.
Thank you, Council Member. Let's go to commissioners. You have, please limit to one question, one quick question. Commissioner Harris, a question?
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd?
Yes.
Let's be quick on them.
I think there's an echo.
Go ahead.
I am wondering what is Oh, sorry, the echo is really bad. What is the percentage? You said it's typically, we all know it's 30% for affordable housing, but what is that percentage increasing to for the
Oh,
new
okay.
high density affordable
that.
housing?
It's still 30%, but it's going to be 30% more. So where we were going to have medium density, we will now have high density, which means you can have more units overall, which means you'll have 30% of more units. Chairman, were you trying to call on Commissioner Floy earlier? You're still muted, sir.
Commissioner Floyd, the question? Commissioner Ewart,
No question.
Commissioner Hanrahan,
I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Sanchez,
I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about your education priorities.
Great question. Education priority.
Why are we getting the feedback?
James, if you could just turn down your thing, that'd be great.
Okay, so Commissioner Sanchez asked about education priorities during the FY22 budget. Number one, keep our school budgets whole. Right? It is not the time to be cutting school budgets. 6 schools across the district, including 4 in Ward 1, are seeing budget cuts. And I have made very clear to the chancellor that this is unacceptable. There are federal funds coming, and I believe they're going to be able to plug those holes. But we need to be increasing the per pupil funding to 4%, right? The mayor has bumped it up to 3.5. We're almost there. Hopefully, if we need to, council can put more money in, but I'd love to see all of these federal funds in place in a way that make all these schools whole. It's very clear that the current funding model is not working. The same schools every year are getting, Columbia Heights Education Campus, for example, the same schools every year are having trouble getting funded adequately. So that's number one. School-based mental health has been a huge priority of mine. I've funded it every year. We need to keep funding it. Those are probably the 2 biggest things: adequate funding overall and enhanced funding for school-based mental health, because kids are dealing with a lot right now. Thank you for the question.
Commissioner
Chairman, you're
Turner, you just
muted.
need to unmute. And sorry, Commissioner Turner, I keep muting you just because when other folks speak, I think your volume is turned up too loud for the echo. But that is all. Okay, I think he may be leaving and rejoining. Do we have any other questions that anyone would like to just jump in right now?
I'll go. I had a quick question. Councilman Rito, is there any plans to reintroduce your rent control expansion bill this term in the council?
Oh, good question. Yes, I believe we are planning to reintroduce it. We've just had a number of other things on the docket. It was actually introduced primarily by council member Trayon White. I was the number 2 signer, so it would be up to him first. But I assume that he's going to be reintroducing it, and I will join him. Thank you for asking. The rent control bill will reform and modernize our rent control law to include more housing and more protections for tenants. So it's a very important thing to do.
Ms. Council,
Great, and then I see
I just
Commissioner
want to make
Luther.
a comment, not a question, it's just a comment to back up your census stuff. Since all of these people that are on the commission now are probably were not around when we did the last round, which you were, so you'll understand this. We came this close, and I mean this close, to adding in the new ANC. It was literally one vote that tipped the scales the other way. So this is not a new concept that's coming out of the ground. It's something that we advocated very strongly and had huge debates on. So I'm glad that we're still considering doing that.
So it seems Chairman Turner is rebooting. I believe we had a few questions in the chat for Councilmember Nadeau.
Commissioner Luther also had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go to, I can only see four at a time here. So let's go to Commissioner Luther.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Nadeau. I wanted to ask, do you have any programs that'll be stopping or helping with any crimes that's going on in the neighborhood, or or preventing the crimes in the neighborhood? I'd like to sit down and we could talk about how we can curb some of the crimes and stuff in the neighborhood with programs that's not in the neighborhoods.
Sure, Commissioner, I'm always happy to sit down and talk both about what we have and maybe what we would be lacking. There's a number of ways that we think about addressing crime in our communities. It, of course, depends on what the type of crime is. I think in general, what I hear from constituents is most concerns about the most dangerous violent crimes. And with those, of course, we're talking about a need to invest in people and to prevent violence by investing in people. And so we are doing that in a very direct way, in particular in Columbia Heights, but I'm also very pleased to have worked to bring a new violence interrupter to LaDroit Park recently. One of the things that we know when it comes to violent crime is often these are disputes between individuals or groups that get heated, and the presence of firearms can make them deadly. And if we can prevent those heated conflicts from happening in the first place, then we prevent the violence. And one thing we've also seen is sometimes we invest in one area because that's where the crime is happening, but it doesn't start there. And with LaDroit, for example, we learned that there were folks in the crew in LaDroit who were in conflict with people in Columbia Heights. And although we had resources in Columbia Heights, we didn't have them down in LaDroit. And it's much harder to mediate a conflict. It's much harder to mediate a ceasefire if you don't have people working on both sides of that conflict. So I'm continuing to keep my eyes and ears open to hear from constituents, to hear from commissioners about where we need resources. I want to in particular thank Commissioner Handerhan for his work in LaDroit right now, also with our wonderful community partner down there, Uniting Our Youth, who's engaging our young people down there to be involved in positive activities. And that's a huge part of it as well. Of course, I know you'll hear from MPD later tonight about the role that they play, but it shouldn't all be on their shoulders. There's a lot we can do as a community to prevent crime and violence, and that's how we're working together now. Thank you.
That's why I asked. I like the incorporation programs, at least sit down and let you see some of the programs that we've been doing in Ward 7 and what we've been starting up here in Garfield Terrace.
I would love to. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, have all commissioners had an opportunity to ask a question? Okay, let's go to community questions.
Chairman, I see Commissioner Thomas has her hand up.
Sorry, hello. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to make a quick statement. On yesterday morning, I sent out a massive email. I think Councilmember Nadeau was included on it. So for our chairperson, Turner, and any other of the other commissioners that I didn't CC on them, it was not an oversight or stepping on anyone's toes. I just felt that it needed to go above and beyond the normal route. And so when I reached out to the mayor's office, as well as DGS, I just wanted to apologize for anyone who didn't get it. Excuse me. And also if anyone was offended about any parts of the email, I don't want to apologize for it, but if the tone was out of line, I apologize for that much. I just wanted to make sure, since we have our Councilmember Nadeau on, if the summer is coming in, and so hopefully we won't have these kinds of incidents anymore in the neighborhood without going through the proper channels, because the ANC, and I think all of us can agree to this, that we work hard with our constituents in the neighborhood and our communities, whether it be on music, too loud noise, gatherings or what have you. I would just like to think that the government agencies would at least reach out to those of us that's on the ground first before they make those snappy decisions. And so hopefully, because the weather's beginning to be warm, I like to also offer my assistance to anyone if they're having issues in their communities or neighborhoods with folks hanging out or whatever, and you need someone to help brokerage between the residents and the other folks that I offer my services. Thank you, Brianne Nadeau, council member, for helping out, and Commissioner Harris, my partner in crime. Thanks again. So I got a call today, went out with the electricians, and we got everything back installed, up and running. And so just wanted to throw that out there. Thanks again.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Commissioner. Let's get to those community questions.
I answered one in the chat, so I think that leaves us with one, Chairman, which I answered Frank, and he can email me for the documents he's looking for. Jamal Lewis asks, what kind of language was included in the comprehensive plan to limit displacement? I'm super excited to answer that question. So just some examples. When new housing, when housing is being built and replacing something. So when we're talking about a demolition of a building with existing tenants and a rebuild, priority should be to the right for those tenants to come back, the right to return, the right to the same size unit that they left coming back to, prioritizing actually building first on a nearby site and allowing them to move into that so they don't have to leave and come back, things like that. Those are tenets of certain programs that we have here in the District of Columbia when we're building, but that's not true for every builder in the city. And so we really wanted to make clear that in the district, it's a priority that people get to live here, even as new things are coming, that people should be able to remain and not be pushed out. So there's language like that throughout the comprehensive plan. Feel free to email me if you want to get some of the text. It's an 1,800-page document, but those are some of the highlights.
Council member, thank you for joining us today. It's always a pleasure, and having you here at least once a quarter to give an update. I think it's very important for the commission and the community to hear from you, not only in these venues, but the many other venues that you have throughout the ward and around the city with the committees that you chair. So thank you very much for being with us this evening.
Thank you all so much. And I thank you for all your hard work. I look forward to seeing you out in community.
Commissioners, it's 7 o'clock, and I'll call our official meeting to order. Madam Secretary, if you'll call the roll.
Commissioner Handerhan,
Present.
Commissioner Orlowski,
Present.
Commissioner Luther, Commissioner Thomas,
Present.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Present.
Commissioner Foy,
Present.
Commissioner Ewart,
Present.
Commissioner Bana,
Present.
Commissioner Turner,
Present.
Commissioner Delaney, Commissioner Harris here.
And we have a quorum of 10 of 11.
Yes.
Commissioners, you have an agenda before you for approval. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, hand. Agenda is approved. On the agenda is a consent agenda consisting of the April draft minutes, a draft resolution on street vending, draft resolution on mental health support in schools, and a letter on regarding the Slow Streets pilot. These have been circulated without controversy. And is there a motion to approve these as a consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Consent agenda is approved. Thank you. Reports and action items, Advocate and Task Force, Ward 1 on Education, Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, sir. So at the last meeting, we met with the Office of Human Rights to get a Know Your Rights presentation. It was very insightful. If that's something that this commission would be interested in getting at some point, I'd be happy to set that up. So let me know. We have been working through this resolution on mental health support. I believe we haven't had any issues with that. We've received some comments from the other commissioners. It is on the agenda. So I guess this is the point where I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's already approved.
It's approved. Okay, we're good. Then great. So we'll be including that hopefully with other commissions letters for Councilmember Nadeau and the upcoming budget season. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Commissioner Floyd, the Terrell.
Thank you, Chairman. The first round of welcome packages have been delivered to our new neighbors. We have also spoken with a similar organization in Ward 3 who have done charitable donations to the organization, to their Brooks, which is their short-term housing, and we have several ideas from them. Their scale is a little larger than what we would ever have because they do more than just that one housing. It's also interesting to notice that they do the La Casa property, which is up in our Columbia Heights, and serve the men there. So there's opportunities for doing some of the things that they have learned and bouncing from their success. So expect to see some activities and opportunity for involvement with the citizens as well as the commissioners in the future.
Thank you. And thank you for helping promote in other wards. It's really important. Economic development. Commissioner Hanrahan, but we'll let Gigi do a quick update. I know she has to run.
Good evening, awesome humans. Thank you so much. So I'm going to do a quick run through of what we've done, what was going on, and what's coming up. And also if you guys have any questions, and I do have a few people that had recommended that I go over one or two things, which is, for example, the restaurant, the new funding that just got rolled out, soft open last Friday. So to start off with, what we've done in March, as in a whole corridor, is starting off with, thanks with you guys' help, and I've been able to get 2 additional people to join our Neighborhood Strategic Council. As you guys may know, the Neighborhood Strategic Council for our corridor, Main Street, is to be able to hear the voices of both our residents and business owners to make sure that we're addressing issues that we not just see in our corridor, but that those that live and reside and earn money and revenue in. So it's very, very important that we have kind of a balanced group. We also successfully launched a major campaign for Fun Parade, which is this week. I hope you guys have been able to at least participate in some of the function. The biggest one is going to be this Saturday. It's going to be a virtual festival thanks to COVID. However, I think it's still going to be equally amazing. So I hope you guys will be able to participate. And also in March, we were able to have our mid-year evaluation through our DSLBD, and U Street went with flying colors and a pat on our backs. So that was amazing. Current issues that if you guys are able to assist me with is there's a huge campaign that's going around in DC with other main streets called the Takeout Tuesday campaign. And I've been having a bit of a challenge getting the momentum to get U Street businesses to be involved. And I've seen significant numbers increase for businesses in other places. So that's been a bit of a challenge. So if you guys know of any businesses that would like to participate, or at least you could suggest, you can send their information my way, or you can send, or vice versa. And also there is a survey that I've been trying to go around and send. It's called the COVID Business Needs Assessment. And that is truly for the goal is to get what the needs of businesses are, not just during COVID, but as we're getting out and we're becoming more open and we're doing various phases, we need to know exactly where the challenges and also the success of businesses are in our corridor. So that way we can help them and we can voice the concerns to our stakeholders and also decision makers to let them know what we can do and what we need. And last but not least, of course, as I said, Funk Parade is between the 1st and the 8th of this month. And any information that you guys could possibly need is always going to be available through me, through our social media, on Instagram, Facebook, but you can also contact me. And one of last thing that I wanted to mention briefly with you guys was regarding the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. It is one of the best and outgoing grants that's out there. There's no limit to the money of what their people are getting, but it's first come, first serve. And it's absolutely crucial for businesses, specifically restaurants. So restaurants as in restaurants that serve food or that serve drinks, cocktails or non-cocktail. There's no limit to the money that they can ask. And it's this is ongoing until the money runs out. So it's the best time for a business to truly go out and say, hey, this is the money I need to expand. This is the things that I need, not just for the crisis of COVID, but if they wanted to expand. They have until March of 2023 to spend the money. And right now, the way it's set up is the first 21 days of review, there is a priority for minorities, women, veterans. So there's a breakdown of it. So I'm more than happy to share with anyone, but it's a really, it's a great opportunity to maximize on the needs of businesses in our corridor. So if you guys can spread the word, it'll be great. I'll do it myself, but I know that you guys you have different reaches than I do. So it would be a good way for us to truly help our corridor as best possible. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.
Gigi, thanks for joining us tonight. I do have a quick question for you. Do you have any information on Takeout Tuesday and what we can pass along to different businesses? I know that we've talked about this, but I think if there's any sort of information as to how they can participate, I think that would be helpful in getting them involved.
Certainly. So I know each corridor is doing it a little bit different, but essentially the way the Takeout Tuesday works is that businesses will they'll have a special for a Takeout Tuesday. So it'll be a box. So the Takeout Tuesday special, imagine as if it's comparable to, what does it call it? Restaurant Week, and where you're doing specials for these things. So people are doing specials for that. So whether it be, they're going to do free delivery or they're going to do a box or various events. So the way it works is that the business would come up with an idea of a special. And to me, because our corridor has a lot of entertainment, I was thinking even to kind of pass it along for those that are entertainment venues, they can have a Takeout Tuesday happy hour that are particular specialty drinks. So it's, but I'll give you I'll send you some like breakdown formal information, but that's the goal. The goal is to get as much business as possible. And I believe when the Takeout Tuesday campaign began, the reason they picked Tuesday was because that was the slowest business that restaurants had, and how to kind of pick up momentum from there is how it goes. I hope that answered your question.
It does. And I have a follow-up question. For the COVID business needs assessment, do you need more businesses to fill that out on U Street? And then is there a particular website that they have to access, or do you have different printouts? And then when is that due?
The sooner the better, because we're not getting as much responses. So we're kind of extending the date. So I'm not even giving out a date for that, but it's simply it's a survey. I would send you the link. And I've put it on my news notes. I've sent it emails separately to restaurants and bars, but it's just simply, and also stores and retailers. It's if it's a business owner and they don't have to get information from their boss, it wouldn't take them long. It would be less than 10 minutes at best that it would take, but it's simply a survey. And the information that's gathered is not necessarily to collect information, but just to be able to say, oh, you're a retailer, oh, you're a bar, you're a restaurant, what are the crises that you have? And just to collect information so we can identify where the weaknesses are and where the strengths are so we can help our corridor.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I saw Commissioner Ewart's hand first, and then Commissioner Thomas.
Yeah, thanks, Gigi, for all your work. Just one quick question on the grant that you had mentioned earlier. Does that expire at any point? Like, is there an end date for applications for that grant to come
So,
in?
so that's, I don't want to say that's the danger. That's the plus and minus. So there isn't a close. It's when they run out of money. So that's why that's why I'm trying to get out and get people to do it as quickly as possible, is that because they're not capping the amount of money, right? So there's X amount of people in the panelists. One person, say everybody applied, one can ask for $50,000 and someone else can ask for 10. So because they're not capping the amount of money people are asking, there is no deadline. So when the money runs out is when it's over. So but it's worth the investment because there is no cap to really invest in applying for it. So that way you're putting your best foot forward from there. But yeah, no, there's no end date because there's no amount that is set for that grant amount.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, Gigi. How are you? Good evening.
Good evening.
A couple quick questions. One, the front parade you said is this Saturday?
It's a week. So they have, because it was virtual and they divided it. It was semi-virtual. It was majority-wise virtual. So they did the various things. So they did the mural walk yesterday.
That's what I was a little confused about because I did see that.
Yeah, so it's various times. So it started last Saturday. It was from May 1st to May 8th. It's just the grand finale is the various concerts that's taking place on the 8th, which will be virtual.
Okay, and how far up, I know you were talking about the businesses getting involved, but you all don't go, if I'm not mistaken, you don't go further up 14th Street or down 14th Street, or is this just you and U Street and Georgia Avenue, Lower Georgia Avenue?
If you're thinking of like specifically the U Street, Main Street corridor,
yeah.
You know where the industrial bank is on 12th and U?
Yeah.
So it starts off right after the industrial bank. So it's from the industrial bank and it goes all the way to 17th. So where not quite Adams Morgan, but where Vita is and where, so 17th and U. And then, so it's almost like a T. And then from 14th Street, we start off on 14th and T and we go all the way to 14th and V. And then from there, we go from 14th to Florida. So it's a weird cutout, but we take part of 14th Street. We have a little bit of a carve out on V and T to Florida, but I don't go all the way to Georgia. It cuts off on 12th and U.
On 12th, okay. And the reason why I was asking was because I noticed between Florida and V, there's nothing really on V in terms of well, I can't say that. You got Busboys and Poets and the other two restaurants between U and V, but then you have Florida Avenue between Florida and W, and it's like 4 restaurants there, so they wouldn't.
Yeah, right outside our they're outside of the boundary of U Street.
Okay, all right, and then lastly, the Clean Street, is that something that you all are running?
Not necessarily, but we have a partnership with them. So essentially, what happens is if I see something, or if anyone in my community, whether it be a resident or a business owner, and tells me, hey, there's so-and-so going on, there's trash not being picked up, there's graffiti, they let me know. I reach out to my contact and the clean team and say, hey, and a lot of times I try to take a picture or to show them exactly where the location is, and they'll go and the clean team will go make the cleanup, and they'll reach out and say, hey, we did this and this date. And they'll send me pictures of what that was completed, whether it be paint or exactly what they did in terms of cleanup and preparation, and go from there. So it's not they're not a part of our corridor, but we have a partnership with them to assure that our corridor is meeting the standards.
So Clean Street is separate?
Yes, so the clean team is part of the bid.
Part of a bid. And you say they work on U Street. I mean, they're up in our area. And the reason why I'm asking is because I haven't seen anyone out cleaning for months now. I think myself, along with some of the other commissioners, Sable and a few others, we've been doing pretty much our own cleaning in terms of either one of us doing it or some of the young men that hang out. So I was just curious as to what boundaries do they have and what days are they out there?
I can ask and find out, honestly, I will say. Like,
So,
I
Commissioner Thomas, I also I'm sorry to interrupt. I did just drop a link in the chat, which I think you can actually see a map of which clean teams cover which areas.
And when?
I'm sorry?
And when?
That I don't know. I don't know how the hours work necessarily, but there's a whole portal that walks through their role. And I know we're in a bit of an interesting intersection with the number of bids and number of clean teams and number of main streets that all intersect, but that gives you a pretty nice snapshot on the map.
Okay,
there is no bid that covers this area. So there are independent clean teams and independent main streets. Now the main streets are, I believe, under the same corporate umbrella for Lower George Avenue and for U Street. The clean teams are under a different organization. In a bid, they come together into one entity, but we do not have a bid.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
I mean, I'm happy to ask, but like I said, it's more of a partnership and being able, I think the goal is to make sure all of our communities are clean. So it's a good partnership that they're fairly responsive. So if you or Sable have any additional questions, you guys can always reach out to me and I'm more than happy to get the details for you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
Thanks, guys.
Sure.
I was just gonna try to move us to the next part of the Economic Development Committee agenda. Gigi, thank you so much for all your work and for updating us. We always appreciate it so much. And if any of the commissioners have questions offline, I'm happy to make sure Gigi gets them. I know she's incredibly responsive. So appreciate your time. Larry Handerhan, I'm the commissioner from 1B01 and the new chair of the Economic Development Committee now that a former commissioner, Rob Hudson, moved out of his SMD. So big shoes to fill, but I'll be taking over the committee moving forward and really excited. There is a ton of work coming up. I also want to acknowledge that we have a number of members here tonight and they've already jumped right into the first big project, which is the Reeve Center redevelopment. So the Economic Development Committee generally only meets when there's relevant projects in 1B. And right now we have a pretty big one with the Reeve Center. So on April 20th, I just want to give an update on where we are with this. DemPed hosted a public disposition hearing for the property. There are 2 developers that have submitted proposals to the RFP. Those are Legacy Community Partners and the Reeves CMC Venture. You can learn more. I dropped links to both of their project websites in the chat. And at this point, now that DemPed, and I should also note that we're joined by Patrick Smith from DemPed, and I will, first of all, eternally grateful for their support and their guidance in this process. I'll also give them a chance to jump in if there's anything that I missed. The ANC role in all of this is now that DemPed has announced the disposition plans, we're holding community engagement opportunities. This is an incredibly important site for the entire city, not just for 1B and not just for Ward 1. The ANC prior to this group passed a resolution that highlighted 7 things that we're looking for. That resolution is available on our website. I'm just going to quickly run through a little bit and then announce the next community meetings and just encourage people to join. And then, so I won't take too much more of your time. So we're really interested in hearing everyone's perspective on the following things. And these are what we have asked the district to include and the developers to include. Honor the memory and historic importance of the Reeve Center, provide budget sensitive retail, develop multi-income housing. This development is by right, just as a flag. Sustain and increase the office space that's available during the day. We're extremely concerned about employment, so making sure, first, high energy design principles is incredibly important. We're also really interested in a green roof. And we heard a number of things from our community survey, including preserving the Civic Plaza as a gathering space, having that kind of public space is really important to the community. So if you are interested in learning more about the project and hearing, asking questions and learning more about what the development teams have put together, we're having community meetings the next 2 Tuesdays at 6:30 via Zoom. You can register on our website, which again, I dropped in the chat. On May 11th, Reeves CMC Venture will be presenting. On May 18th, Legacy Community Partners will be presenting. We had both of them speak at a meeting earlier this week. We're breaking them up so we can afford more time for community questions. And again, I'd just like to thank the Economic Development Committee members who are going to be part of this process. At this meeting next month, we will be proposing a resolution to the broader ANC to vote on a similar resolution to what we voted on last year that talks about what we want at the site now that we have a little bit more clarity over who the development teams are. I am happy to answer any questions, but first want to just ask Patrick Smith to correct or add anything that I missed.
Legacy Community Partners is as of right. CMCs may involve a map amendment, so check their presentations. Those are questions to ask them at the community meetings. And our evaluation, we are eagerly awaiting the community's input, and we are holding off on continuing our evaluation until we receive that input. So please take part in the meetings.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Mr. Ewart, I see a question.
Yeah, just a quick question. So at the resolution that you mentioned that we'll be recommending at the next meeting, will that give us an opportunity to put forward our preferred option as far as the development teams, or what I'm interested what what's going to be the bulk of that resolution?
Sure. How we're thinking about it right now, and again, I know there's a lot of folks on the line who have been part of this process in the past. What DemPed has told us is most helpful for them is to clearly articulate what we're looking for when it comes to, the kind of the items I read are almost like a vision statement. So we're going to drill down much more into that. We're also going to compile a kind of comparative chart between the two proposals now that we actually have two development teams who are in contention. And I think that all of the inputs there are going to probably very well might point to one project or the other, but it's really about what the community wants. And those are inputs for both the district and the development team they choose. Of course, the district will be giving us great weight. We don't select, but I know that Patrick and his team are really committed to hearing what we want to say. So, and we want to do what's most helpful for them to get the outcomes we want. And that's how the structure has been communicated to us.
Thanks, Larry. Commissioner Hanrahan, I appreciate it.
Other questions? Okay. Thanks, everyone. I know 3 community meetings in 1 month for one project is a lot, but I think we had 100 people come to the one on Tuesday, so there's a lot of interest. Please advertise. I will recirculate the flyer to the commissioners. It's also dropped in the chat. It is open to everyone. 1B is impacted tremendously, but this is a whole city issue, so just want to thank everyone and encourage you to share the information about the community meetings coming up. And that's all I have for the Economic Development Committee. I am interested in kind of getting my sea legs under me with this work. And so look forward to having a little bit more of a standard agenda outside of just the Reeves Center moving forward. And if you're interested in getting involved, I'll put my email in the chat.
Larry, Commissioner Hanrahan, was that wishful thinking or did you overlook 815 Florida Avenue?
So we will also be involved in the disposition of the housing finance agency property. So that's at the corner of 9th and Florida. Very excited to kind of run a similar process where we get a ton of community feedback into what that process looks like. We're going to focus on Reeves in the short term, but there'll be a lot more information about that coming up, and look forward to having the engagement both of the commissioners, those on the line, and the broader community.
Thank you. I said that a little bit jokingly in that when I said, oh, just Reeves, when you first said it'll be easy to work and build up this committee, and then they just start rolling one after another.
It is a lot. It's a lot of work for the members, but we're really excited to be able to channel the community preferences into the process.
I personally find it very exciting with the amount of development opportunities that are happening, and not only to grow a housing base, but a commercial base and everything, and a entertainment, a community, everything that we need in a very exciting community as a mid-city, as we were once called.
Well said.
So thank you. Public safety?
Great. Just before we go to Lieutenant, sorry to steal your thunder. Just a quick question from Jonathan in the chat. He just put in for Patrick. I don't know if they're Patrick from DEMPED. Is there a timeline for groundbreaking? I know it's probably quite a far timeline away, but just wanted to ask that.
Well, as stated in the RFP, we are targeting closing on the property in summer of 2022. Closing is not groundbreaking, but that's when we would like to convey the property to the winning development team.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, Lieutenant, all you.
All right. Hi, I'm Lieutenant Michael Day. I just want to keep this very brief because I know we're running short on time. Just brief introduction about myself, since I'm sure some of the members aren't familiar with me. I've been a lieutenant for about a year now. I've been at the 3rd District and serving Sector 2, which includes 1B, parts of 1B, which is LaJoy Park and Florida, as well as U Street. And I was also an officer here for about 13 years, so I have plenty of familiarity with the 3rd District and this whole area in general. I've served, been assigned to all parts of this district. So I'm very familiar with the ins and outs and all the players that are involved in this district. So just to, not going to give the rundown on the stats. You can look at our stats at the DC crime cards, but just to tell you what some of the engagement updates that we're doing for to address the crime in the area. I do have what to supplement and add to what we have for our nightlife unit during the afternoon hours. I have what we have. We are complete community policing oriented officers. So I have Officer Segoba, and she's taking lead on that. And she will be forming very close relationship with the business owners on U Street as well as in Shaw, as well as doing regular community walks with those business owners. And what she'll be doing is walking around those areas, because our main concern in those areas are the increase of motor vehicle thefts that we've been seeing since the pandemic occurred. And these are all crimes of opportunities where the delivery drivers will leave their car idling, go pick up something, and next thing to know, that someone has hopped into their vehicle and they're taken off with those vehicles. So what we want to do is be fair to those Uber drivers as well as the businesses, try to get the education out there as well as getting the police presence and being present and talking to these members. On LaJoy Park, I'm in some of those community meetings over in the Bloomingdale Association as well as in the LaJoy Park meetings, and the main concern I've always heard is the traffic enforcement. So I do have a traffic enforcement officer in those areas on North Capitol, First Street, and in the LaJoy Park area, as well all the way down to Bates Street. And what he's been doing is making arrests as well as writing significant amount of tickets. And hopefully that's been abated. But we'll keep doing what we do. Yesterday he made it 2 outstanding DUI arrests. That's Officer Jermaine Perez. But that's what we have going on. I know just to update you about Clifton and as well as Columbia Heights. I know the big concern for the summer are the block parties that are occurring. But just to give you an update, no permits have been approved for the summer for any block parties. And what we've been doing is working with the violence interrupters, smokers, when we see these groups forming, so that we can come up there and try to work it out peacefully for those people who are having block parties, so that we don't have a violent crime occur. I'll be adding my information, my email, as well as my contact number for any concerns, comments from the community for 1B.
Thanks, Lieutenant. I see Commissioner Floyd has a question, which I'm sure we can know what it is. But Commissioner Floyd, please.
First of all, thank you, Lieutenant, for being here today, and I want to thank you and all of your fellow officers for the work you do. We do appreciate it. Lieutenant, I'm concerned about the August homicide at 1315 Clifton. Do you have any new information for us on the status of that?
1350 Clifton, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you correctly.
There was a homicide at the end of August at 1315 Clifton, right at the front door. We're not used to that sort of violence on this end of Clifton. Do you have any new information? We know the old stuff. I'm looking for new stuff.
Commander Emmerich told me to expect this question. Just to update you from what Commander Emmerich relayed to me, we have been, the detectives are still investigating the case. We have a possible subject of interest, and they are just working on probable cause for that warrant, but they are working towards closing that case. But I can't give you, and I don't have particulars, and I'm not ready to talk anymore about that.
Thank you for your update.
Thank you. And thanks, Lieutenant. I did have a few community members reach out to me just to ask. I know a lot of folks are watching the mayor's press conference with Chief Conti, well, now Chief Conti, so then acting Chief Conti, so it's great. But specifically on the drag racing incident that occurred, asking if there's any new information on the 3 officers who are either pending citations, pending what has happened, if you have an update on that.
I don't have an update on that. I know they are under, it's an ongoing investigation for for that. So I think there will be a release on that shortly from the chief.
Okay.
But that's going to have to come through the public information office.
No problem. I just promised some folks that I would ask. So thank you so much for that. We will just keep a lookout. Okay. And then, sorry, any other questions for MPD before I just talk quickly about the community engagement part? Oh, we have a question from our community member, Frank. Frank, thanks for putting that in the chat. An update on arrests for ATVs. I know we have been seeing those a little more frequently around this neighborhood.
Yes, ATVs remain a problem. We make when we can make arrests, we do make arrests. But what we do is the officers know to turn on their cameras, take pictures of ATV drivers so that we can identify these people, and our detectives work on getting warrants for the ATV drivers, because it is illegal in the city and it is a huge problem.
Okay, thank you. We'll continue. I think that
Amanda, I do have one question specifically related to that. Is there, I think it's a very tricky situation to navigate, and, I know it is illegal in DC. I think there are other ways to combat it than arresting individuals, although I leave that up to you all. That is, what your job is. But I wonder, is there any other type of proactive, I guess, enforcement, because it does present a danger to pedestrians and also other drivers, and also to the drivers of the dirt bikes and ATVs if an officer does decide to engage. And I know that there's no, I guess, chasing, but I don't want to see another incident like the one that happened with Kayron Hilton.
So yeah, we have a no chase policy. The officers know not to chase, especially with their district, any ATV drivers. That's why they turn on their cameras and they take pictures. And the whole emphasis is to obtain warrants for those ATV drivers rather than try to go after these people and create a dangerous situation.
Thank you. And then Commissioner Thomas, do I see you have a question? Oops, sorry, I may have just muted you. Oh, Commissioner Thomas, if you just unmute.
Sorry about that.
All good, you're good.
Okay. So is there any time that 3D is not deployed along the U Street corridor? My concern is that there's been a couple of weekends that I haven't seen a police officer or patrol car within a 4-block radius in any direction. And so I always thought that, especially on the weekends, Fridays and Saturdays, that there's usually some patrol car or something out there. Is that not still the case?
No, we do have a nightlife focus beat unit during the weekends at night that are dedicated for U Street, and they should be there. And if you don't see their vehicles, then they're out on foot.
And so is there any particular time when they're not there, like a couple of Fridays ago, when the lights were out on the corner of 14th and U? We had a large crowd out there, but was no officers in sight for hours.
What time was that, ma'am?
14th and U Street. The
I'm
U Street
asking
corridor.
around the hours.
9, about 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. I'll look into that. I'll again reach out to me by my email. I'll add that, and we can discuss it further. But they should. We do have officers dedicated for the area, especially.
That's what I
during
thought. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner Thomas, for that. Okay. Any other questions from anybody on or in the chat? I think that we're pretty good. Yeah, Lieutenant, if you'd like to just drop your personal in the chat, I can make sure that folks have it. But thanks for coming on tonight.
Great, thank you.
Okay, great. And then, sorry, just a quick community engagement announcement. So as you heard from Councilmember Brianna Doe, we're doing the vaccine blitz signups. I know that Sable or Commissioner Harris will be out tomorrow. I was out this morning, so it's great just talking to neighbors, getting out there and making sure people know where to get vaccinated in Ward 1. The CVSs along our U Street and 14th almost always have appointments now, so just wanted to say that on this meeting. And then finally, just wanted to bring light to the effort that we did do as ANC 1B and further Ward 1 commissioners calling for a walk-up vaccine site. So while our call to action wasn't answered, we did gather over 20 commissioners from Ward 1 who were able to talk to DC Health and Mayor Bowser's office, hoping to get a walk-up vaccination site. We'll see if something down the pike happens, but just wanted to bring that to light. Also, finally, I have been working on rat abatement efforts in the neighborhood just as a community engagement outreach mechanism for the full ANC. So if you have any issues, I have a lot of new friends at DCRA and DOH, so I'd be happy to help you out with that. Okay, back to you, Chair Turner. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that update. Zoning, preservation, and development, Mr. Nelson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick Nelson, and I currently chair the Zoning Preservation and Development Committee. We have 3 items tonight that we need to get the commission to vote on. First item is a property located at 1801 9th Street, also known as 813 817 S Street Northwest. It's an RF1 zone. It's right on the corner, so it actually has 2 different addresses. This is located in 1B02, which is Dan Orlasky's SMD. And the applicant is going in front of HPRB, and we were asked to review the concept and design for renovation and partial second floor addition and storefront facade alterations at that location. So the committee is recommending that the ANC support the concept and design of the renovation, partial second floor addition, and storefront alterations with the following conditions to be addressed. Storefront facade pitch will be more shallow and roofing to consist of appropriate material. Headers and sills will be added to the windows, and the mural on the alley wall will be retained. Subsequent to our meeting, the applicant met again with the people at HPO, and HPO has actually accepted all of these recommendations, but I will still include them in the recommendation that we send officially once this is voted on. I know that was a mouthful, so any questions?
Commissioner Orlasky, would you like to comment on that? And then we'll see if there's any community comments directly related to the project.
Yeah, as Chair Nelson said, we had a long discussion with the property owner about the planned development. There are several positive things about it that I want to mention. For one, the units that they're planning on making are actually multi-bedroom units, which is very rare these days. So it's more conducive towards family housing than it is towards individuals. We also made several requests to change the design in a way that would fit more with the neighboring buildings, so it would blend in more. The one thing that I think is the most important to mention is that the building in question is the former Checkers Club, which is a very popular landmark in the area. There was a lot of discussion about how to help out the Checkers Club relocate. And I think we've made some progress there. The president of Howard University has been in touch with the owners of the Checkers Club to perhaps give them a new place to congregate. So I think that's a positive step in the right direction. And if anybody has any other questions about it, they can feel free to reach out to me, and I can provide updates or in whatever way I can kind of keep them informed on how that's going.
And let me just make one other quick comment, which I probably should have made before, that is probably going to come from the audience, so I'll address it now. There's been some concern about the zoning related issues and addition and height and all this other stuff that was addressed by the abutting neighbor, which we got subsequent to the meeting. That issue is going to be addressed when they come back again for their zoning relief portion of it. This is only dealing with the historic review and concept of what they're proposing. So there'll be much more discussion, which we already had in the meeting when they brought this part forward, that they are aware of, that they're going to have to address significantly when they come back for the zoning relief that they're going to request to be able to do this. This is just a concept for HPRB to approve.
Okay. Yeah.
There are a number of community questions about this, but I think Patrick, your comment.
We'll take any that are related to the historic.
I think there is one related partially. It is, where will the egress be for the other units as they back up to a backyard of a current home?
Egress, it's all from the front of the building.
And then I think the other questions and comments, I think they're related to the zoning issues. So we can address those either the next commission meeting or the next ZPD meeting.
Capture them and send them over to Patrick, please.
Will do.
Commissioner Orlowski, is there a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that the ANC vote to accept the committee's recommendation.
Is there a second?
Design with caveats.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention? Passes. Thank you. Next item.
Okay, so the next item is for property located at 1471 Florida Avenue. It's in an RA2 zone. It's located in Victoria Sanchez's SMD. And this is actually a two-part, because they're going in front of HPRB and BZA. So the first piece is the HPRB piece, which is a concept review designed for a 3-story rear and side yard addition at that location. And the committee is recommending that the ANC support the concept and design of the 3-story side yard addition with the following conditions to be addressed. The addition shall be sided with flush-based metal siding or corrugated metal, and the additional mansard roof to be added shall be covered in slate.
Commissioner Sanchez, do you have a comments on this? On the HPRB portion?
Sure. On the HPRB portion, looking through the design, going to the zoning meeting, it's a very interesting project because it's pizza shaped. So the lot goes back quite a bit. This does kind of play into the next part. But I think they've been very thoughtful about how they will fit. It's for 10 units. That's a lot, but I think there's confidence given where the land is. It's kind of going up to the Meridian Hill Park Hill. So it's actually kind of below a lot of the other things beneath it. So there's not much concern with obstruction of neighbors. We did engage for them to interact with a few more of the neighbors that they hadn't gotten to yet. And the developer did follow up with some of the contacts that he had made. So I think, I don't have concerns about where this project is going.
Okay, is there any community comment on the HPRB portion? Okay, is there a motion?
So I make a motion that the committee approve the committee's recommendation.
Okay, there's a motion for the commission to approve the recommendation of ZPD on HPRB. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion with commissioners. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention. Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, so the second half of this is for the same property, and it's a BZA case, and they are going in front of BZA requesting special exceptions for rear yard requirements and lot occupancy to construct a 3-story side yard addition and conversion into 10 units. The ZPD committee is recommending that the ANC support the special exceptions for the rear yard requirements and lot occupancy to construct the 3-story side yard addition and conversion of this property to 10 units.
Commissioner Sanchez, you want to address the zoning aspect of this case?
Sure. On the zoning side, we kind of talked a lot about, shape, things that might be obstructed. And I think, I'm confident in the design, and there weren't concerns from the surrounding homes. So I think in that I'm fine with where the design is, unless others have comment from the community.
Are there any community comments with regard to the zoning relief requested? Okay, is there a motion on the zoning relief?
Sure. I'll motion that the commission accept the committee's recommendation for zoning relief.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Motion passes. Thank you. Mr. Nelson.
Okay, so that concludes the request from the committee, and our next committee member meeting will be on May 17th at 6:30.
Okay, thank you. Transportation Committee.
Hello, everyone. Max Ewart, 1B07, Chair of the Transportation Committee. At the last Transportation Committee meeting, we had a couple healthy discussions about some of the upcoming projects that are going on related to the transit and transportation network in our neighborhoods. One of which was the Near Northwest 3 Health and Safety Study. As part of the Community Action Committee, I was able to give a recommendation that we expand one of the proposed intersections to be improved for pedestrian safety. As part of that study, at the intersection of T and 11th to also include T and 12th Street, DDOT has indicated that they are fine with that and that they'd like to expand that the interventions there to make the intersections a little bit safer. What exactly that looked like, we haven't been informed yet, but looking forward to seeing that happen. Also, we had a community comment at the last meeting about the slip lane at the intersection of New Hampshire Avenue, 16th Street, and U Streets. A community member expressed interest in starting the TSA, Transportation Safety Assessment process at our next meeting on May 12th. Commissioners Harris and Sanchez both plan to be in attendance to have a little bit more of a thorough discussion about that, and we'll vote on whether or not we're going to recommend to go forward with that TSA. If anyone's interested in coming to that meeting or has particularly strong opinions about slip lanes in the neighborhood, you're more than welcome to join. As I mentioned earlier, the next meeting is going to be Wednesday, May 12th, and on the agenda it says 7 p.m. However, our next meeting is going to be at 6 p.m. So hope to see you all there. That's it for me.
Thank you. ABR.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric, Commissioner of 1B08 and Chair of the ABR Committee. We discussed a number of things on the last meeting, which are reflected in the agenda. And one of them does require a vote, which I'll save that for the end. But at the last meeting, we reviewed the renewal applications for 6 liquor stores. And so for those in the community that aren't aware, the permitting cycles of the different establishments are on a schedule. So right now, all of the liquor stores in the ANC are coming up for renewal. So I do expect a few more will be before our committee over the next couple of weeks. Additionally, we reviewed our committee's efforts to track opera violations during the phase 2 of the COVID restrictions. We also discussed at length some larger issues with the arts overlay and clarity related to what that permits in terms of concentrations of bars and restaurants. And just so that it's crystal clear for the community that it is a priority of the committee to continue to explore and get clarification on how that arts overlay relates to the ABRA process, permitting process. So lastly, we spent most of the meeting hearing a presentation from a new applicant for a liquor license at 14th and U, a very prominent area of the ANC. That is Alice Bar. We heard a lot of questions from committee members and also from members of the community through the Zoom Q&A. So the committee did vote to recommend a protest of the liquor license to initiate a settlement agreement. Those negotiations for the settlement agreement have already begun. The establishment is very amenable to incorporating community's concerns, responding to community feedback. Commissioner Harris is negotiating that with the establishment currently, but we do need to call for a vote to accept that recommendation so that we can maintain our standing at the table in the process.
Okay, Commissioner, on which of the, I believe it's 7 grounds that we're able to protest, are you protesting?
So the main concerns that were expressed by the community was noise and crowding / queuing.
Peace, order, and quiet?
Correct. We can use the term peace, order, and quiet.
Well, it's defined in statute. You have to use those words, and any variation of those words, it gets thrown out.
Correct.
Which is, a lot of places get dismissed because they do that. Okay, got that. So there is a motion to protest Alice Bar and peace, order, and quiet. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor, aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Thank you.
Great. And that is all of my update. I did in the newsletter this week call for committee members. We could use a couple more ABR committee members. I got one person that reached out and they were interested. So if you are interested, reach out to me. And our next meeting is May 19th at 7 p.m. We meet the third Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Administrative updates. Vice Chair Orlowski is drafting updates to the bylaws and the standing operating procedures to deal with committee operations, structure, and membership to ensure that we have a more wider representation across all the SMDs and our geography. Commissioner, would you like to make any comments on that?
I think you basically covered it. I think the idea here is just to get greater engagement from a larger portion of 1B so that we're not concentrating all of our committee members in specific SMDs, which seems to be kind of a problem. Not really necessarily a problem. It's great to have people that are engaged. It's just we would like to get opinions from a broader swath of the ANC. So I'm reviewing our bylaws and our committee rules so that we can maybe make some tweaks to that to help to facilitate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Secretary Harris is reviewing our online meeting policies and procedures and will be documenting guidelines of enhancing the way we run virtual meetings. Madam Secretary, would you like to comment on that?
Sure. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I think, with the, even though we are seeing COVID cases decrease and we're seeing more vaccinations, I think we will still be operating in a virtual world for a little bit longer and maybe even for the foreseeable future. So I think it is important for us to have very clear online kind of policies, not just with commission meetings, but for committee meetings as well. So they run smoother and more efficiently.
Thank you. We have a vacancy in 1B11. The petition period runs from 5/3 until 5/24. At close of business, the challenge period is 27th to June 3rd. Should there be more than one candidate, there will be an in-person election conducted by the Office of the ANCs on the night of our first monthly meeting or a specially called meeting. If there are no candidates, the meeting or the position vacancy will be reposted in the DC Register and will run for another cycle. With this, we could anticipate with a candidate or multiple candidates of having the position filled for the July meeting. Information is available in the DC Register and at the Board of Elections. Office of the Mayor, Anthony Moore.
I see Anthony and he's coming off.
Here. Good afternoon, commissioners. Oh, good evening. I'm sorry about that. Just give a quick update for you guys to continue to pass the word of when the Ward 1 neighbors get vaccinated, how the importance of vaccination is in our community, especially in Ward 1, so we can get back to enjoying U Street, 14th Street, and some of the entertainment districts that we have to take advantage of in Ward 1. Just to give you guys a quick update on some of the things that the Mocha's office did in Ward 1. We had a walk with Commissioner Harris a couple of weeks ago, and boarding her SMD, and I think SMD 1B02. We got WMATA to remove some graffiti behind the U Street Metro Station, which was a good thing. Also, we got DOH to abate a problem area behind Josephine Butler. I think it's the Josephine Butler Center, I'm sorry. They had a rodent abatement, a rodent problem. So we got a lot of barrels abated. And Faircliff, the alley behind the Butler Center, we got that abated as well. Also got a chance to participate in the Leroy Park Civic Association meeting last week. Got a chance to meet the violence interrupter and continue to engage with the young people down in Leroy Park, which is a plus. Also got a chance to do a sweep with Garfield Terrace with Commissioner Luther to have DCRA make some slight repairs to a building that had a hole in the bottom floor, which was resolved by DCRA last week. Also got a chance to meet Commissioner Benna to give him some handouts to pass out to the guys at 14th and Clifton Street, some state DC information, DC amnesty program for tickets, and got a chance to give them some additional information on Goodwill that has a initiative to train young adults in trades. So I think that was a good week. Also, the day of action turned out to be very good. Good turnout. I was there from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I think we had over probably 200 volunteers throughout the day. So hopefully the message got out with that initiative to get people vaccinated within Ward 1 into the district. Also got a chance the week before weekend with Amanda to do the cleanup within 1B, which was a good turnout. I enjoyed that. Got a chance to meet a lot of good people. Next week, I'm going to look forward to, I'm gonna reach out to a lot of commissioners that I haven't met and see if we can do a small sweep within your SMD to point out some issues that you want to get resolved, whether it's long-term or short-term. And I look forward to meeting with you guys. Any questions?
When can we expect to hear from you and to schedule this walkthroughs?
Probably tomorrow, Friday or Monday. I'm glad that the weather is warming up, so we can take a good walk and enjoy the walk with the weather at the same time. Yeah. Then you can see a lot of good people and meet people at the same time, and engage with some of the neighbors within your SMD. I know I would like to. So yeah. Monday.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Office of the Council Member.
Good evening, Commissioners. I have no further updates, but I did want to mention that our office will be out in the community tomorrow regarding our Ward 1 community vaccination blitz. Tomorrow, May 7th, between 8:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. And again at 4:30 p.m. and 6 p.m. in the afternoon. And we will be at 14th Street and Columbia Road. And we will also be at 14th Street and U Street. We will also be at Lamont Plaza on Mount Pleasant. And then we'll also be at Unity Park in front of the Line Hotel. I do also just want to say thank you to all commissioners who have been coming out, volunteering and assisting and ensuring that we reach as many people as possible so that they can get vaccinated. Thank you.
Great. And sorry to piggyback off that, sorry, Chair. Just announced Ward 1 will be getting a pop-up walk-up site. So woo on May 11th. I just wanted to use this forum to announce that. May 11th from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. And it will be in our Columbia Heights community. So at that Columbia Heights Community Center. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, community announcements.
Thank you, Chair. I know we had one person. If I could have Nancy, I'll bring you on, Nancy. And then Frank, I see you have your hand up. If you do want to make a community announcement, keep your hand up. Okay, he's good. Nancy, I think you're on.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Nancy Lyons. I am with the Department of Public Works Murals DC project, and I just wanted to notify everyone that the property owners of the wall that is on the lot where this of the CVS at 7th and Florida Avenue, that's been it's a mural that's been there. It's next to the shade. It's been tagged, and there've been a lot of posters that have been put on it. That property is owned by Howard University, managed by Dweck Properties, and they are interested in a mural on that wall. And I just wanted to let folks know that we will be considering painting over that wall in the summer and trying to apply some kind of graffiti prevention coating to prevent future tagging of that wall.
Hi, Nancy. Quick question, Larry Handerhan, the commissioner for that SMD. Thank you for sending me all the information on this. Did you say Howard owned the wall?
Yeah, I believe Howard University owns that wall. They didn't, I had to speak to them, but then I also had to speak to Dweck Properties. I think Howard owns the property.
They own the
and maybe
property
Dweck
that
owns
CVS is on. The wall is actually part of JBG's building, but Howard owns the property that
right.
You can see the wall from.
Yeah, it took us a while to figure out who the right person to talk to.
That's great. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. That was my understanding as well. Absolutely support the project. Your program.
And I'll keep you posted, Commissioner.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Nancy. Is there a timeline on when you're accepting applications? Sorry if you said that.
So we pretty much have received all of our applications for walls for typically the deadline was April 15th. I mean, we accept applications all year. Our budget is relatively limited, so we probably have more spaces than we can actually paint with regard to the budget. And we'll be selecting artists next week, and walls will be matched with artists in June, and then we hope to see work starting in July and August.
Awesome. That's very exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nancy, can I ask just a quick comment while you're talking about murals, since I didn't know you were coming on tonight? Could you possibly reach out to Dan Orlasky or myself at the ZPD committee email and see if you can connect with the owner of 1801 9th Street? His name is Alton Street. That's the building with the checkers thing and the mural on the side. And he was asking us in the committee meeting to see if we could help him connect up with the possibly finding who did the original mural, because they want to update it. They don't want to change it, but they want to fix some of the areas that need to be retreated. So if you could do that, that'd be great. I mean, I've been trying to reach out to people that I know of, but you probably have a lot more contacts than I do.
I'll check into that.
Thank you.
Great. I just DM'd you, Nancy, their emails, and I'll also be happy to connect you guys directly.
Thank you.
Any other last questions? Then we have one more community announcement, and then I think we'll be okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you, Nancy, for coming on. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. And then I have Robin here, promoted to panelist. Robin, if you come off mute, we'd love to hear from you.
Great. All right, I'm on. Sorry about that. All right, so thank you very much. I'm Robin Schuster from the 14th and U Farmers Market, and I just have two announcements, I guess. The first is that the market has reopened for the season. It reopened last Saturday, and we're very excited about that. We have tons of strawberries and, excuse me, and asparagus, local strawberries at Garner. And when I say tons, I mean he had tables of strawberries, so I think there will be again. We've also brought in Bread First, the very famous bakery on Connecticut Avenue, which has joined us to be our bread baker, and we're very excited about that too. We are participating in a very big way in the Produce Plus program again this year, and although it will be a little different than it was last year and the year before, we're one of the key players in that program. So as always, we do a tremendous amount with food access. And I just want to keep reminding people of that as we talk about keeping the farmers markets on the Reef Center. We do SNAP, we do WIC, we do senior farmers market, we match so that people's food access programs are doubled. And this has always been, and this is our 15th season, it has always been a very important part of the market. So I just want to remind people of that. Bringing up the market, I was really pleased. I was at the meeting Tuesday night, and Ted, our senior market manager, will be at the meeting on the 11th and on the 18th. We are really pleased that the ANC is supporting the idea of a wide sidewalk so that the market can be on the sidewalk. But also, as people talk about, and it's very important for the developers to understand that a plaza that is filled with the kind of trees and benches and fountains and things that we all want in a plaza may not be appropriate for a farmer's market. We currently take 250, 280 linear feet of length for the market, and the tents run 10 feet deep, 10 to 15 to 20 sometimes feet deep. And that to really run a market, it really needs that. So I just want all of us to be thinking about that. I'm really pleased that the ANC did already, but as we engage with the developers, they need to understand that for the market to be there, it's not just going to be 1 or 2 or 3 tents sprinkled. It's really the equivalent of 25 to 28 tents. And that's the way we need to be thinking about it. So all of your support for that is wonderful. And the other thing that would be really helpful, because we have to let our farmers know, is when do we think demolition will occur? We know we're going to have to be off the site for at least a year, but what year do we think that's going to start? And so anything you can tell me a year in advance of that would be very helpful, because the farmers plan in advance. And if we know that we can't be on the site in 2023, as soon as we know that, it would be really helpful. My understanding is, from having talked with people, but it may be wrong, that final decisions that would affect design will be made next summer, which would probably mean that demolition wouldn't happen for another 6 months. But I really would like anything you can find out about that would be really helpful. So I'm assuming we're fine this year and next year, but I really need to know.
Hi, Robin.
So anybody have any questions? Hi.
Hi,
Commissioner Powers.
I think Commissioner Handerhan mentioned some of this, and so did Patrick Smith from DIMPED, but we'll be discussing a lot of the Reef Center redevelopment on the Tuesday meetings we have coming up. The farmers market is certainly top of mind, and we did include it in our resolution. So thank you for chiming in on that.
Which we were really pleased to see.
Yes. But we'll absolutely cover that more in the Tuesday meetings. And I believe Patrick Smith from DIMPED mentioned that they are looking at closing on the property in summer of 2022, which would likely mean maybe a year or two before they break ground. But I think that is also dependent on the developer who is chosen on that. So as soon as we know information, I'm sure we would convey that over to you all.
We really appreciate that. It's really great to know. And it sounds like we'll still be okay on the site for a couple of years. And we're hoping, and we don't know yet, but we're hoping that as the case count falls in the district and as vaccinations go up, including in Ward 1 at our new pop-up site, that we hope that the farmers markets in the city will be able to transition back to the old way of doing things rather than the current waiver market, which, as if you've been to the market, I know you have, Commissioner, requires us to limit the number of people at one time in the market, and keeping everything one way and not letting people into tents. All of that will transition back, we hope, soon. But we haven't heard, and as soon as we know, we'll let you know.
Stay tuned to Reopen DC for more information. Amanda, are there more community comments?
No, Commissioner, I believe we are all set. Thank you to both Nancy and Robin for joining us.
Commissioners, thank you. It was a very good meeting. Thanks to the council member for joining us. Commissioner Luther, you have a comment?
Yes, yes. For the farmers market, I'd like to, if so, could I link up with the sisters so we can talk about their leftover food scraps, because we do compost and vermiculture in Garfield Terrace. So like their food, like the leftover food scraps, so they won't have to throw them away anywhere. We can collect those and do composting with those.
That's great. I'll connect you
Thank
both.
you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks everyone. A meeting is adjourned.